Warning, warning, battle convoy now approaching Tanhony Towers. Please prepare for insertion.
Welcome to Discovering SCP.
This is going to be the first ASMR episode of Discovering SCP. Can you hear this?
Do you like that?
Oh, no, I don't.
How does it feel going in your ear holes?
No.
Welcome to Discovering SCP.
Stop.
How many SCPs do you have for us today, Dan?
Stop, please, it's freaking me out. I don't like it.
So you can dish it, but you can't take it.
Oh, you bet.
Is that so?
Well, today, Darnell, we've got...
Wait, hold on. You fucked up your mic. It's all fuzzy now.
We've got 3 perfect...
Wait.
Hello?
Tan, hold on. You fucked up your mic. It's all fuzzy now.
Sorry, is that better?
No, it's like all... Did you, like, grab it or something?
Is that better now?
Yeah, nah, you're good now. It sounded like you shoved it in a thing full of styrofoam.
Well, today we've got 3 cromulent SCPs.
What does cromulent mean for the viewers at home?
Wouldn't you like to know? Why don't you take
Spicy.
out your phone, open Google search, just
I'll
type
do
it
a
in,
Google
and
search.
then-
Just for you.
Okay, that's no. I can only last so long. Listen to that.
It could only last so long, huh? So you really liked it that much.
I'm gonna kill you.
All right. So you said we have 3 today. Let's get started. What's the first one? It's
first-
probably not Call of Duty Robots. I don't know why that came to mind, but... Huh.
The first one we have today is SCP-2309, and it's called The Iron Wall of Dulquarnine by Univine.
Dulquarnine?
Yeah.
How do you say that? Dulquarnine.
I don't know. But let's get into it.
Oh, good. It's not very long. Thank God.
Yeah, sorry. I don't want to keep you here too long.
No, but the long ones, I lose stamina unless they're really good. Okay.
So, let's begin. Item number, SCP-2309. Object
Oh, wait,
class.
never mind. Sorry, the reason I was so perturbed, I forgot that I got used to recording so many Aetherial Space the other day, I expected myself to read. I forgot it was you who does that.
Object class, Euclid.
Why Euclid? Isn't it Euclid?
Special containment procedures. In order to prevent unauthorized access, the area surrounding the SCP has been enclosed by a chain link fence and given the public designation of a proving ground used by the Georgian land forces. A team of observers to be stationed at the SCP at all times to regularly report on its structural condition. Any breach in the SCP is to be reported immediately and considered a potential SK-class dominant shift scenario. Upon receiving such a report, Foundation military assets stationed in the Middle East are to be activated and deployed according to Contingency Plan 2309 to assess the situation and, if applicable, engage any hostile forces that appear.
I'll say this. I feel bad because it makes me feel like I'm attacking whoever wrote this in particular. I'm not. Like, the first time that there was a contingency plan or an XK class event named the same number as the SCP, I was like, oh, that's epic. And now at, like, the 20th time, I'm like, okay, can you, like, be a little more creative? Fucking, they're all named out, like, Contingency Plan 2309, it's SCP-2309. They're all fucking named after the number.
Well, it's a specific contingency plan for this. It doesn't make sense to use
Yeah,
it for
but
another SCP.
but I know what you're saying, but that implies that each SCP only has exactly one contingency plan,
No,
which
you'd put a
actively
dash-
doesn't add
you'd
up in
put
the lore.
You'd put a dash and then another number after it.
But, let's see, that's just, I don't know.
Let's get into
Alright.
it. Description. The SCP is an approximately 20 meter tall and 5 meter thick wall, constructed from blocks of iron covered in a thin layer of brass, starting between the walls of the Blank Pass in Blank Region, Georgia. Although the
Is it Georgia the country or Georgia the state?
country?
Okay.
Otherwise, it would not make sense to activate military assets in the Middle East.
That makes way more sense, yeah, I'm stupid.
Although the SCP is not susceptible to damage by conventional means, it continuously deteriorates through an anomalous process in which pieces of metal disappear from the north-facing side of the SCP, leaving a variety of patterns generally similar to claw marks in appearance.
Wasn't there another metal thing that gradually deteriorated? That thing we read way early in the podcast, and they had to keep feeding it metal.
That was the Broken God thing, yeah, but that didn't deteriorate.
Yeah.
That just
Well, no,
wanted more
but
used.
there was a Broken God thing where they like had it suspended in water, right?
Yeah,
and
they were the ones deteriorating that then.
Right.
So that wasn't like its thing.
Sorry, my bad.
This process of deterioration, which occurs between sunrise and sunset, will continue until the thickness of the wall is reduced to as little as 5 centimeters in some sections.
The thickness?
Please stop. Between each period of deterioration, the SCP will regenerate the lost material at a rate of approximately 0.5 milliliters a second, such that all the lost material will have been regenerated before the next period of deterioration.
Oh, cool.
Foundation historians believe that the SCP was constructed during the 6th century BCE under the sponsorship of Cyrus the Great, founder of the Achaemenid Empire.
Just a fucking YouTube video. Thank you to our sponsor, Cyrus the Great from the Achaemenid Empire, being such a great sponsor
Top
for a
tier
slime
patron.
video. Yeah! He donated 20,000 to their Twitch stream. Speaking of which, actually no, I'll talk about that later at the end of the episode. Remind me, there's a separate corner for talking to Tanhony at the end.
The historical existence of the SCP has been attested by various written sources dating from as early as the 1st century CE. The source is C. The Jewish War Unabridged by Josephus, Department of Antiquities, 1911 86-98.
Look at these non-chads using Common Era instead of AD and BC. Shaking my head.
Publicly accessible versions of these sources have been modified accordingly to obscure the existence of location of the SCP. Of particular interest among these sources is the following first-hand account of the SCP, given by Salim at-Turjumani, an official serving in the court of Caliph al-Wafik of the Abbasid dynasty during the early 9th century CE. Why don't you read it?
This open report on the Iron Wall.
Yeah.
Is this in any way related to an Iron Curtain?
No, it was in the 9th century.
Okay. That is a good point. I'm stupid. Wow, I'm really out of it today. Sorry. After the Caliph reported a dream in which he saw the Iron Wall of Dul Karnyan. We're probably not pronouncing this right. I know there are people in the chat that probably know how to pronounce this. Don't bully us. The footnote says, literature, the two-horned one. Dul Karnyan.
Not literature.
Literally, the two-horned one. Dul Karnain was a legendary ruler described in the Quran as having built an iron wall, which was likely a reference to the construction of SCP-2309 by Cyrus the Great, who was frequently shown wearing a horned headpiece in artistic depictions. Being breached by Yajuj and Majuj, another footnote referred to in the Judeo-Christian tradition as Gog and Magog. In Islam, Yajuj and Majuj are peoples who will invade the world during the end times. He dispatched me to investigate the matter. Heading northwards to the Caucasus, I arrived in... This is a challenge to me being a fucking spoiled English-speaking Westerner, dude. I don't know how to say it. Tbilisi. After 6... You know, I know exactly who in the server is going to make fun of me this episode already. I arrived in Tbilisi after 6 months of travel. There I made inquiries concerning the state of the Iron Wall and found an old Magian... for Islamic term for Zoroastrians. Oh, I know what those are. Possibly referring to a MEKHANE in this context, as many medieval Islamic sources conflate the dualistic aspects of the MEKHANite and Zoroastrian faith. Wait, what the fuck? They're related? Well, this is so... The SCP lore is so confusing.
Well, they're not actually related, it's just that they're very similar in some ways, so they get them confused.
Fair enough. Who told me that he had seen the Iron Wall and that it still stood. I then offered him 20 dinars to lead me to the Iron Wall, and without comment he led me further northward to a pass between the mountains of blank and blank. There I beheld the Iron Wall, and to the relief of both the Caliph and myself, I found that the Iron Wall still stood, and that Dul Karnain's construction equipment remained intact, scattered about the site. What I found strange, however, was that I could see the scratches made by Yajuj and Majuj on the Iron Wall, but I could not see Yajuj and Majuj themselves. When I expressed my confusion to the Magian, he told me that the people of Yajuj and Majuj lie hidden behind the Iron Wall. He then placed his hand on my shoulder, at which point I saw the horde of Yajuj and Majuj streaming towards us as they tore at the Iron Wall. If I have to say Yajuj and Majuj one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. They were as gruesome as I had imagined, for their nakedness was not even hidden by skin, and their hands ended not in nails, but vicious rending claws. Behind the horde of Yajuj and Majuj, I saw only devastation. Every tree and plant had been uprooted, and the only beasts that survived their onslaught were flies, maggots, and roaches. Examining the disposition of the forces of Yajuj and Majuj more closely, I saw 2 masked men, cloaked in red robes like those of Roman bishops, presiding over the horde from atop flesh-crafted towers. Before them stood a massive 4-legged beast that was larger than 5 elephants, and had only a bony plate for a face. Is this 682?
No.
Okay. Raising their staves towards the air, they guided the beast as a performer might guide a puppet. Responding to their every gesture, the beast began to charge toward the Iron Wall, trampling underfoot the Yajuj and Majuj that strayed into its path, before its head slammed into the Iron Wall, which emerged largely unscathed. I questioned the Magian as to why Yajuj and Majuj continued this futile effort to penetrate the iron wall, when they could have undermined it or built a scaffold. He replied that where Yajuj and Majuj stood, the ground was harder than Damascus steel, and the ceiling of heaven was exactly at the height of the iron wall, so that even the most insignificant insect could not fly over it. I told the Magian that I had seen enough, and he removed his hand from my shoulder. As Yajuj and Majuj disappeared from my sight, he told me that the Caliph and the rulers of every civilized land must heed the threat of Yajuj and Majuj. Sorry, by the way, I keep pausing in my reading. There's like a lot of phlegm in my throat. I think I'm getting sick, so it's like hard to be stamina.
Darnell sick arc?
Don't make a million Cronin jokes. I'm pretty sure it's just a cold, but yeah.
Darnell illness arc?
Sometimes I question whether my vision was a sign from Allah or a Magian trick, but I am inclined to believe that I was not deceived, for Allah is knowing and seeing capitalized, and I saw only what had already been revealed. So at first I was like, if they keep saying Yajuj and Majuj, it won't feel like a word anymore, which to be fair happened. However, I'm pretty sure they're trying to illustrate like the very blunt and more about the definitions than like flowery language of like religious texts at times. Not that religious texts don't have sometimes flowery language, but you know what I mean? Like there are verses in many religious tomes, specifically in the Abrahamic religions, that are just and he X and then X.
Very blunt.
Very blunt, yes. So I kind of am more forgiving about for that, but Yajuj and Majuj are like no longer words in my head. It's like 30 fucking times. All right, you're me.
Okay, I'm back. Foundation archaeologists began excavations of the area surrounding the SCP in 1992. Among the articles of interest discovered were a cache of approximately 1,000 Lydian coins. That impressed you?
No, I coughed.
It sounded like you shot like a little pea shooter and blew the smoke off it. Hell yeah, I love Lydian coins.
What the fuck is a Lydian coin? I literally, this whole article is just Lon Lang is going to roast me for not knowing things. I've already foreseen it.
A large number of iron and bronze fragments from Achaemenid weapons and armour. A collection of gears and other machine parts, probably used in the construction of the SCP. Many are stamped with the seals of the Mechanite temple cults of the Ionian city-states. So, I don't know if you remember Ion, that name as we have run across recently.
Yeah, that's the Sarkic. Okay, so now, how many of these, because you know I'm stupid in the head, how many of these are real places and how many of these are fake places?
Some of them are real, some of them are fake.
I know,
Mechanite and Ionian are made up.
Obviously are fake, but like, is Achaemenid real? I know Cyrus the Great is real.
I believe those are real, yes.
Okay.
A mass grave containing skeletons of humanoid body structures, largely similar to those of baseline Homo sapiens sapiens. Deviating from their baseline, the skulls largely consist of a vertically aligned pair of sharp jaws, and that their fingers end with bony claws. These specimens have been noted to resemble captured instances of SK Bio Type B.
What the fuck is that?
SK Sarkic.
Oh, fucking... I can't tell if this article is clever or, like, not subtle in the slightest.
Well, it's not meant to be subtle, but...
Okay. And this is by Univine, by the way. Last edited again by our friend Deadly Bread.
A large clay cylinder containing the following record written in Old Persian of the construction of the SCP and the circumstances in which it took place. How did it happen, Darnell?
It says here that... Oh, God. So they took a bunch of... They went to their Minecraft caves.
Why don't you read it?
Oh, it's a... I thought this was a bit where you were telling me to fucking... I'm so dumb. I'm sorry, I'm blasted from work. All civilized men praise Cyrus, beloved of Ahura Mazda. There's a footnote. Ahura Mazda is the creator deity and object of worship in Zoroastrianism. King of kings, king of Persia, Babylon, Sumer, Akkad, and Lydia. His army. Are all those real places?
I think so, yeah.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I didn't know if Lydia was. His army, which counts in its ranks as many men as there are drops of water in the Tigris and the Euphrates, marched into the Caucasus to confront the invaders who have sailed out from Adatum. That's like the fucking flesh place, right? Well, yeah, Old Persian rendition of Adium, also known as Adatum, capital of the Sarkic Empire. Led by Karasi, corruption of the word Karsis, the title of spiritual and secular leaders of the... Can I just stop reading these footnotes? They're like every fucking second. And they're just stuff about Sarkicism and Zoroastrianism. Would you hate me if I stopped reading them?
As part of the article, I would have to disapprove.
Led by Karaski, Yagaha, and Karaski Magaha, Deva, Zoroastrian term referring to false gods or hostile supernatural entities. Generals of Angramenu. Hey, that's the fake guy.
Have you forgotten what Devas are as well?
I know what devas are. I did. I said it.
Dave, remember?
No, but look, Zoroastrian term referring to false gods.
Oh, well, it's all involved, so...
Okay, Tanhony, how about you read it then?
Well, I'm trying to tell you about what's...
I will destroy you. I'm
Fine,
so cranky for no... Sorry, I'm just sick. Generals of anger main you, so it's like hard to keep stopping and reading again. Spirit of evil opposed by Ahura Mazda and Zoroastrianism, which in this context is likely referring to Yaldabaoth, the deity worshipped by the Sarkic cults. They have caused great mischief in our lands.
I love the word mischief.
Great mischief. As if they're playing a subtle prank. At first, Cyrus's army drove them back to the blank pass, but the onslaught was endless, such that even the champions, elite soldiers of the Achaemenid Empire, referred to as immortals by Greek sources, could not hold them back. In his divinely granted wisdom, Cyrus resolved to build a barrier to hold back the Devas and their accursed armies. Gathering the wisest men from all corners of his empire, Cyrus journeyed to Ionia, where he enlisted the Mechanite builder priests. As Cyrus's armies held the line, the Mechanites erected a great wall from blocks of iron and poured over it a layer of consecrated brass, so that Karaski Yagaha and Karaski Magaha and their armies will be sealed away from mankind in the realm of Druj. Is that like Majuj and Yajuj combined now? Zoroastrian concept that can refer to falsehood, disorder, and non-existence, until the end of time. Because of the eschatological difference between a sign... sorry, you want to go back to it?
Yeah, it's like, you can go if you want, but...
No, go ahead.
Oh, because of the eschatological significance assigned to the SCP and the existence of written and archaeological evidence suggesting that it was constructed as a barrier against Sarkic armies, it is believed that the breach of the SCP, if and when it should take place, may constitute an SK-class dominant shift scenario. Historical and esoteric research regarding the nature of the threat posed by the SCP and possible improvements to its containment is ongoing.
Alright, so... my thoughts. So once again, this is by Univine.
Yes.
It's definitely interesting. It's always cool to see a little more expanded on, not just of Mechanites and Sarkicism, of which, Church of the Broken God is the more based of the two. But a lot of articles and a lot of fiction are written based solely on Christian texts and biblical allegories, when there's a lot of really cool stuff in the Islamic and Jewish faiths as well. So it's kind of nice to see it tapped into a more Middle Eastern faith and worldview. Kind of different kind of culture than you might see. Like, we've seen a million Christian themed SCPs with fucking Cain and Abel. Yeah. So it's kind of nice to get a little more variety.
Are you an angel? I heard the miners talking about them. They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe. Sorry, I'm just quoting Anakin Skywalker.
You're good. I do have some complaints with this SCP though. So what I like, it's cool world building, and I like that it's different. What I don't like is that this isn't really an SCP. If we're being honest, the SCP is barely mentioned. It's basically just a world building piece for the world around Sarkicism. And Mechanites. Most of the reports is just about the things. It doesn't really go into what the Iron Wall does, aside from, at the very beginning, it's it's a giant wall that deteriorates and regenerates, and then it's just basically world building, which is fine, but it's not really an...
We know why it does that, though.
Why?
Because it's used to hold the Sarkic guys in the other dimension.
Exactly. But my point is, I think this article serves better as a world-building piece to this canon than it does as its own standalone SCP. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you showed people the flesh-eating thing, or you showed them the broken god, some of the ones we read, those are standalone. But you can't really read this one and enjoy it without kind of knowing the lore behind them already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This isn't really its own standalone piece. I'm not saying that makes it bad, but it just it loses a little bit of value in my eyes because it relies on the existing canon rather than as its own thing. Also, and I know this may come across as salty because I wanted to stop reading them. I feel like it's hard to give this objectively, but I promise it's not. I feel like the overuse of footnotes is a bit much when it comes to describing the things that are related to, specifically Sarkicism and Mechanite, because that's SCP related. Sure, that's fine. But I don't think you need to define every, real-life equivalent to stuff. And even in the case of the Sarkis and Mechanism, I often like when the footnotes aren't there, or are at least more vague, because I like when more is left to the reader's imagination to come up with the terms, rather than being given the literal definition of everything, so that it can only be interpreted one way. But that's a personal criticism. I know not everyone feels the same. So as a total, I'd probably give this SCP like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, somewhere around there. And it's not bad by any means, but it's ironically, I was happy it was short, but it's a bit on the short side. It's not really a standalone piece, and I feel like the footnotes kind of detract from it a little bit. Like, for example, when I was reading about like the Druge and the companions and all that, I was really excited the world, but then it's like, oh, the answer's right there. I don't really get to decide with my own mind what that is.
Right, yeah.
But what do you think?
I quite like articles. I'm a sucker for footnotes and like fictional history and stuff. So
For
I'm
sure,
quite
and that's
biased
not a
towards
bad
it,
thing.
and I love world building. So
Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with it. It's purely different styles and what we like to read. And as a DM, I get that people love to world build. It's funny because I love to world build. I hate reading world building. I'd rather things like not to get too much on a tangent, but like how Dark Souls, you explore the world and you figure it out through little vague item descriptions or just by your own mind, rather than a giant like imagine if you played Dark Souls and there was a fucking scroll on the wall of the entire history of the world. It wouldn't be nearly as cool to me anyway.
yeah.
But I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. I don't think that's the superior way to write. This is a very subjective rating system, so don't cave my head in for that. But yeah, I liked it. It was all right.
well, it's too late. I'm going to cave your head in now.
No, we have 2 more SCPs to read first.
Die.
No.
Okay, let's get to the second one of today's article.
Yes.
This one is SCP-2307. And this one is called...
2307. Wow, that's really close to 2309.
Yeah. This one is called The Pen is Mightier, and it's by IHP.
All right, and real quick, before we read it, it is written by...
IHP.
You already said... I'm so stupid. Dude,
Every
that's
time,
the ADHD
every
coming in
time.
hot.
We do
That's
this every episode for every SCP.
Funny
We're
thing is-
100 articles in!
Also, funny thing to note, if you didn't notice, unless you upvoted the last one just now, this one has the exact same rating as the last one we read, 191.
Cool.
Isn't it? Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was cool. I know. You have to understand. It's the fucking... Not everything comes through the ADHD, man. Sometimes these, like, beginning details, my mind's just not focused yet.
Let's
Okay.
get into it.
Let us do it.
Item number SCP-2307. Object Class FA. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-2307-01 is to be stored in a medium-sized 35-litre aquarium tank filled with water taken from either Dosmery Pool or Llyn Ogwen, which are lakes in Cornwall, UK and North Wales respectively, which has been inspected weekly for flaws in the tank. Secondary and tertiary tanks will be kept to store the SCP-01 during primary tank maintenance. -2 is to be kept in a climate-controlled case meant to preserve skeletal structures, and is to be cleaned and inspected for damage immediately after each test conducted with it. Use of -02 with other memory or record-affecting SCPs is permitted with approval from 052. Oh, 052 is like his personal SCP.
Damn.
You need to ask me.
It's mine.
This will make Cassie more powerful than ever before.
Finally. I will
I'm
make
drawing
it
her
real.
a suit of power armor.
Do you think they could torture Cassie in an interrogation by dipping her paper in water?
Absolutely. I'm going to write it now so that it will happen.
Or they hold a lighter to the corner of the page. Tell us what you know.
No. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is so far?
So it's kept in a tank filled with water from English lakes, right?
Yeah.
And it's kept in a climate-controlled case.
There's 2 parts of it. One part of it in an aquarium, one part of it in a climate-controlled case.
Okay, so it's weird because at first having 2 parts makes me think, oh, Broken God, obviously. But then it mentions skeletal structure, which makes me think of Sarkics. I don't fucking know.
Let's get into
Also, it's a little too vague with... If I had to guess, I would guess that one of them, the thing that needs to be kept in water, is something that needs to be rusted, because a lot of broken church god things are like, keep it rusted. And then the second thing seems Sarkic, because it's about skeletal structures, and it needs to be inspected for, like, damage to it after a test, which implies that maybe it's something combat-related, or maybe it's like an arm or something. I don't know.
Let's see.
But now that I think about it, like I originally said they're both Sarkic, but now I'm thinking one of them is Broken God, one of them's Sarkic, and they're related somehow.
Let's find out. Description. SCP-01 is the remains of a long sword with a 56cm hilt and a partial blade approximately 40cm in length. estimated to be approximately 43% of its original size.
Oh my god, it used to be a fucking anime blade.
Carbon dating has shown that the hilt and crossguard of the sword dates to approximately the 4th century CE.
Oh wait, no it didn't. I forgot 100 centimeters is like 3 feet. I'm stupid.
So the hilt and the
I
crossguard...
was thinking inches. I thought it was like 12 feet long.
So the hilt and crossguard of the sword dates to approximately 4th century CE. However, the metal used in the blade dates to approximately 3.2 billion BCE. The Dash-01 is in a severe state of disrepair as a result of being submerged in water for at least 1,300 years. Its primary anomaly manifests when a subject makes contact with the hilt of the sword. Following this, all records pertaining to the subject will gradually distort in a manner that reflects positively on the subject, giving wildly different accounts of their life over a period of time. Immediately after coming in contact with Dash-01, birth certificates will have altered dates, spellings of names, and in some cases gender. Typically, individuals have their birth dates altered to be on more significant dates, such as July 7th, 7/7, October 31st, December 25th, or February 14th. Within 1 year, educational records will show that the individual scored highly on tests and grading, if applicable, and will
Why would a sword do this?
and will occasionally claim that a subject went to 2 or more different educational institutions in the same span of time.
Ah, yes, a tool made for killing. I'll also use it to forge my documents.
In addition, subjects lacking a college education will show to be to have at least a master's degree of some form. The subject's knowledge will not change regardless of what the records show. Within 5 years, if applicable, subjects' financial records, including bank statements and tax records, will show them as being wealthy, with a net value of at least $750,000 American.
Whoa, hello, hold on. I'm not shit-talking the sword anymore.
Where's the sword?
Hey, sword! You want to help me with some...
Can I hold the sword?
I got some college loans to pay.
This is what happens to Link when he gets the fucking Master Sword.
He's just decked in fucking ice.
Within 10 years, records will show the subject being a prominent candidate in some form of political campaign, with inconsistent records of them either winning or losing to the candidate they were opposing. If they win, it'll be in a landslide election. If a loss, it'll be by a small margin. Memories of individuals that have voted in an election with the richest record was allegedly a candidate have no recollection of them existing. Finally, death certificates will not reflect the actual cause of death of the subject. Subjects will invariably have died in some form of combat and died from causes such as sword blows, bullets, and arrows fatally impacting.
The thing that's interesting about this SCP, alright, so first I roasted it, right? But this SCP, this single sword, means that any historical document of, like, any historical figure's life could have been totally forged. Like, we know it shows 750,000 American now because that exists, but the sword has been around since 3.2 billion BCE.
Yeah, the metal for it, yeah.
So clearly, you know, the American dollar wasn't a thing then, and it probably still was anomalous back then. So it makes me think that maybe this could be used to alter history to make someone appear more heroic than they did, which means how much of our history has been altered by this thing.
So usually
That's what
most...
it makes me think of.
Yeah, I agree, yeah. Usually most accounts only agree on the fact that the subject held the SCP-01 at some point in their life. Furthermore, when it's not submerged in water taken from either Dosmary Pool or Lyn Ogwen, the metal of the blade will regenerate...
Wait a minute, hold on. I just realized it's English, like, lakes, right?
Yeah.
And then my brain just clicked, because this thing is, like, super special hilt, very cool, very jazzy. It needs to be in a lake. Makes me think Lady Lake. That makes me think, is this fucking Excalibur?
Let's find out. The metal of the blade will regenerate at a rate of approximately 50 millimeters a day, and rust will begin to flake off of the blade. While no negative consequences are believed to occur if it regenerates fully, it is being kept submerged as per the containment procedures as a precaution. Dash-02 is an item previously believed to be unrelated to the main anomaly. Dash-02 is a shamanistic crown carved from the skull of a horse, believed to be worn during rituals in 5th to 7th century Britain. Dash-02 is in poor condition, with several fractures in the bone as a result of age and repeated use in recent years.
This shit has to be an Arthurian legend. It's starting to come together for me, Tan.
Dash-02, when worn, gives complete immunity to memory alteration, including all classes of amnestics and all forms of cognitohazardous record alteration, such as those exhibited by Dash-01. All memories experienced while wearing Dash-02 are retained on an eidetic level. Dash-02 was previously classified as E9382-U, and was used in experiments involving memory and record-altering anomalies.
What's an E?
I think that's just sort of like anomalous item that isn't good enough to be an SCP.
Okay.
Following Test 19, it was reclassified as a component of SCP-2307. And here's the test. You want to read the test because my throat's like exploding?
Yeah, sure. Test 2307-19. Hypothesis. Use of E-9382-U in conjunction with SCP-2307 will allow either for records pertaining to the subject to be unaltered, or for the records to be altered at will. If records are indeed able to be altered, the subject will attempt to modify their birth certificate so that it reads that they were born exactly 1 year before the date listed. Test subject, D2307-19, born 08-15-1977. Record of test. D2307-19 reacts with some level of disgust at the prospect of wearing E-9382-U, stating that he doesn't lack freaky bone stuff. The D-Class says he will comply if he is... Why does he have a -19?
Because he's the 19th D-Class with 2307.
Wait, what?
This is SCP-2307, he's the D-Class...
I'm... Right. I thought... Because I'm used to D-Classes being 14 numbers, so I thought it was like the same guy cloned 19 times. I'm stupid. Oh, I'm really getting sick of this whole naming everything after the SCP number schematic. Says he will comply if he is given an extra dessert ration. Request granted.
Please, sound.
Subject puts on the crown. Subject is then instructed to remove the crown from the SCP from its container. Subject briefly complains of hands getting wet before exclaiming and dropping SCP on the floor 5 seconds after removing it from its container. When asked for this action, subject gave the statement. I was holding the damn thing. I was on a horse, and there was an army around me. Not a big army, maybe 60 people, all of them with crosses on their armor. Some guy was next to me with this hat, indicating the crown, on his head, telling me what I had to do to win. This is you. This is me every time I fucking look at a picture of Yoko Taro. Tan starts speaking to me mentally. This is what you have to do to win.
Retweet me, Darnell.
Yeah! Testing was suspended following the statement. As of 5/21/2015, 5 years after the experiment was conducted, no alteration of the D-Class's records have occurred. Conclusion, further cross-testing with the two items is deemed necessary. Addendum. The following document collects statements given by the D-Class. There's so many fucking numbers, I can't handle it.
Instead of D-Class, there's only one.
No, look you'll see what I mean. He has been rendered exempt from D-Class reassignment for the purposes of study. Statements are listed in the order collected and appear to be mostly about a single individual, with the exception of statements 2307-42, 2307-51, 2307-57, and 2307-59, which is listed separately. I was in bed with my wife. Well, not my wife, but someone's wife. Am I right, fellas?
Well, the doctor's like, yeah.
She felt like mine. She and I were talking about making a kid, but not with her. She couldn't have no kids anymore. And after she got hit in the tummy with an arrow... Wait, what? Hold on. This is the modern day, right?
Well, no, this is the memories he's getting.
Oh, I'm stupid. She couldn't have no kids anymore. I know I told someone to put the arrow in there, because otherwise she would have had kids with my best friend. Okay, this is totally Arthurian legend. I couldn't breathe. It was the scariest experience of my fucking life. I felt like I was trapped in a fucking coffin, and it lasted for so long, and I couldn't breathe the whole time, but I was still alive. I remember some guys speaking in Latin, but I couldn't see them, and I knew they put me there. Then the coffin shook, and I heard some guys speaking, I don't know, it sounded like gibberish. Build poi ba nag tongu clade hun fod bringing a tea. Probably not English. Phonetic translation has shown this to be a Welsh phrase. Bid put. I'm not even going to pretend I can pronounce that. Roughly translated to mean, he who pulls this blade shall be the land's king. I was right! It's Excalibur!
Well,
there's no way it's fucking
because Excalibur isn't the sword in the stone, but you're right in its Arthurian.
There was a guy with this horse thing on his head, dancing around a fire in a big wood hall. He would throw things into the fire. I don't know why I'm Arthur Morgan now. And they would form images.
I saw visions, Dutch. What did you see, Arthur?
I saw visions of people that I knew I had to find before someone else did. They were warriors, and there were a ton of them, and I remember thinking that I was going to need a big hall for a table. You don't think... Nah. I was cutting off someone's head with a sword, like at an execution. I guess you guys know a lot about those. It looked like the sword I was holding, but bright and shiny and new. Nothing fancy, just a really, really, really fucking sharp sword. It only took one blow to cut off his head. The hell is that thing made of? Adamantium?
Oh, this guy fucks.
This guy fucks. That was scary. That was fucking scary. I was in a battle with one of my men. I love how he talks about them like they're his men. He's totally in. Oh my god, no. I can't. I was fighting elves, I think. And that's the only way I could describe them. They wanted my sword, and my guy, he was about 10 feet tall, and at one point he grabbed one of the elves and ate him. He said something in French, and I laughed. I laughed at someone getting their head eaten. The fuck is wrong with me? I was dying. I knew I was going to die. One of my sons had stabbed me, and I had killed him first, but I was hurt bad. So the only thing that could make this more Arthurian is if there was a line about we fought for 2 hours until the field was stained with our blood, and then we left. That's literally every Arthur. I had to read like the King Arthur anthology for high school. That was every fucking battle.
He was the best knight of the Round Table.
Galahad.
He's a fucking virgin.
Literally every fight was we fought for 2 hours and then we're like, not bad, you neither, and then they fucking left. So I had my men take me to a lake. I remember that I had spent time with my sister there. Her name was Morkant. Oh my god, like Morgan or Morgana or whatever the fuck it was when I was young. What kind of name is that for a girl? Morkant. I just wanted to see the place one last time before I died. Then something came out of the water. She was beautiful. She looked even better than my wife did. Her skin was kind of blue, her nose was flat, and she had weird, feeler things in her hair. God, I'd love to see her again. She wasn't human, I know that much. She asked me if I wanted to keep my legacy alive. I said yes. She asked for the sword, and I gave it to her, and she promised me she'd keep it safe. She kissed me, said, "Good night," and I was gone. I couldn't stop crying. A messenger came from the woods and told me that one of my best friends had died. I kept crying over that damn skull I was wearing, and it took me days to calm down. I sat in my bedroom the whole time, just staring at the ceiling. I've never been that sad. I hope I never am again. Okay, I can't keep going. I'm going to read this one last one and give it to you. I felt like I couldn't breathe.
One last log offer.
I felt like I couldn't breathe for so long, Dutch. I was in that coffin again, I think. Then I was pulled out of the ground, and I cringed so hard, bro. Metal against stone is not a good sound. And then I was someone else. I was just a kid, maybe 11 or 12, and I was holding the sword with both hands. I took it out just so I could fight in some tournament that my brother had gotten sick for. People pointed at me as I went, and I thought I was in trouble. Then some old guy with a horse head over his face came up to me and said I was a ruler. Son of a bitch.
I'll take over.
Thanks.
I'll read the rest of them, Arthur.
Thanks, King.
I was an old man, and I've been walking for a long, long time. I eventually walked up to a rock with a sword on it.
Oh my god.
Just sitting there in the middle of no, I can't keep doing it. And I touched it. Then BAM! I was knocked on my ass by lightning, and something spoke to me. It told me to find a boy to make king, and to spread her word all over. I said that I would. This is the first time this has happened. I was somewhere else talking with the boy who is now a man. I tried to persuade him to change his religion, but he said he would banish me if I tried teaching him my pagan faith again. I don't even know.
Oh my god, is the pagan faith guy the crown part and the sword part's the Arthurian legend?
I don't know what I was even preaching. Something about machines, I think.
Oh.
I was some kind of religious guy? Monk, maybe? I remember I had itchy robes. I found the sword after I watched up on the shore, and then I figured out it wasn't a sword. It was like the tip of a giant pen? A stylus, I think I called it.
The pen is mightier than the sword.
Yeah. Why did you pick up the holy pen and be like, sword? I ran back to the monastery with it, and when I got there, I found that scrolls that I had written had changed. We cried out about Apocrypha and an unholy force altering the scrolls. We tried to destroy the pen piece by piece, but the more we destroyed, the more things we had altered. And then the lightning started. It struck all over the place, and friends and other monks were dying. It was horrible. Eventually the monastery caught fire, and I was the only one to escape. A voice, something grinding like nails on a chalkboard mixed with rusty gears, told me what to do with what was left over of the pen. I took it to a blacksmith, and he made it into a sword for me. I then just stuck it in a rock in the middle of a stone circle where I thought that no one would ever find it. From what I've seen, this me was an idiot.
So he's not always the same guy. All the first ones were the same life, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so 57 now. I was that weird water woman this time, the one I told you about and the one where I died. I had lived in the lake all my life. Some monks, I think they're from the same order as the last guy, came to me asking me to keep something safe for them. They begged me and bargained with me, saying that something unholy was upon the land. I told them I did not care of their mortal ways. Her words, not mine. And then they said a name, MEKHANE. I told them I would agree to whatever they wanted me to do. I love it when names are fucking all caps. I love it.
Yeah. MEKHANE. It's like the fucking final boss with 3 health bars.
They had sent someone disguised as the son of the king who had the sword, who had apparently been made with his half-sister, to kill him in battle. They said that they would bless my lake and one of my sister's lakes to hold the sword of MEKHANE in it, so it couldn't make new legends, whatever that means.
Oh my god, so all of Arthurian legend was faked.
embellished. In exchange, I would be written about as a queen among fairies, fae or whatever. The Lady of the Lake, they called me. I like the sound of that. Son of a bitch. And then the last one from another perspective. I was writing the word of the world on a beach using lightning. That sounds familiar.
Oh my god, was he the broken god for a second?
Yeah, I remember the beach with the lightning.
Yeah, was he the broken god for a second?
My people ran around below me, gathering up the glass from where the lightning struck, and transcribing my words onto their own scrolls, where they would make my holy books. Then one day I was hit by something and my pen broke. I managed to make most of it land on the beach, but some of it didn't. A big chunk of my pen landed a quarter of the way across the world, somewhere where I didn't care about it, and then they tried to break it. I didn't like that, so I tried to burn them with lightning, and eventually they gave in. I probably told you the rest of this, but from different perspectives. One thing I remember, though, remember that Lady Lake girl? I remember doing something to the sword. Her kind didn't like iron, so it wouldn't hurt her or anyone like her. I don't know why I did that. I kind of remember thinking it was safekeeping. And then I saw myself holding the sword with that hat on, and then I saw the whole thing over and again and over and over and over and over until I finally dropped it.
Okay, I fucking love this one. It's got everything. It's got humor. It's got serious moments. It, took from Arcane Legend and involved it with, like, the MEKHANE, and it, like, had a cohesive narrative. It related back to the SCP we'd already seen. Oh my god, this was a really... And, like, all the different perspectives from those first few memories to... Okay, this was a really, really good one.
Yeah.
This deserves way more fucking attention. Upvoted, absolutely. I would have to give this one, like, 11 out of 10. I'm sorry, I fucking love this one. This was great.
11 pens out of 10? 11 out of 10?
Yeah, 11 out of 10. That was really good. Why do all the best ones have, like, no upvotes, and then fucking Josie the Half-Cat has, like, 900?
Because it's the older one.
It's so dumb.
So, are you ready for...
I can't... Yeah. The last one for today.
So
and then I'm going to finally blow my nose.
Okay, so this one is SCP-2399, and it's called A Malfunctioning Destroyer by DJ Cactus.
Oh, we should have got him on for this.
We can't get him on every time we read one of his fucking articles.
He said, and I quote, "Hey, next time you guys read my article, bring me on again."
Well, maybe next time. Let's get into it. So, by order of the Overseer Council, the following file describes a hostile, anomalous alien superstructure capable of causing SK-class Barren Earth end-of-the-world event. And there's level 5, 2399 classified. Unauthorized access forbidden. Oh, I guess we can't read it then, sorry.
Well, yeah. Alright, that's the end of the episode. I'm kidding.
Item number, SCP-2399. Level 5 top secret. Containment class Keta. Destruction class Amida. Risk class Danger. So it's pretty high up there. Those are some big stats.
It's the Great Red Spot on Jupiter.
Can you see it? The Great Red Spot on Jupiter?
That's an SCP.
Let's find out. Special containment procedures. Due to the SCP's location and nature, physical means of containment are currently impossible. Implanted Foundation agents in major observatories are to contain footage or images of the SCP. An ongoing misinformation campaign is in effect, which has thus far been able to completely suppress any knowledge pertaining to the SCP from public awareness. Foundation agents satellites in orbit around Jupiter to maintain constant vigilance of the SCP's reconstruction efforts, and make all attempts to hinder that process should the SCP reach a minimum of 75% completion.
The fact that it's a giant storm makes me think it's going to be related to the Broken God again.
Maybe. Additionally, a perimeter of long-range electromagnetic jamming satellites, bioarray, has been situated in high Jupiter orbit. Any transmissions intercepted by this array will be summarily decoded and blocked. In the event of the SCP surpassing 75% completion or an information breach in the jamming perimeter, necessary Foundation personnel will engage Protocol Legionnaire 5, see Addendum 2399-L5, given its completion by that time. Description. SCP-2399 is a massive, complex mechanical structure currently located in Jupiter's lower atmosphere.
Hell yeah, brother. I'm on a roll today. I mean, I didn't confirm it's the god, but it's at least Broken God related.
Well, it could also just be robot.
Yeah, fuck you.
Since its visual discovery in 1963, the SCP has been observed to use highly advanced antimatter-based weaponry to create spatial disruptions and devastating atmospheric data expunge observable as a large red vortex, commonly known as the Great Red Spot. SCP-2399 appears to be damaged, possibly due to an impact of the moon Io before coming to rest in its current position. Fucking drunk coming into the solar system.
Also worth noting, if this is Broken God related, doesn't the moon Io sound an awful lot like the guy Ion?
Maybe. That's a bit of a stretch, I think, though.
Maybe.
SCP-2399 has been observed releasing a multitude of small octopoid repair drones in efforts to repair the damage it has taken. Some of these drones will remain near the SCP, while others will patrol nearby moons or deeper into the gases of Jupiter itself, in search of parts that the SCP is missing. Computer models estimate that SCP is at 59% completion, with a current rate of 0.78% annually. This rate has increased from an estimated 0.12% in 1970. Despite its damaged states, the SCP seems to possess a limitless power supply, advanced electromagnetic shielding, matter-destructing weaponry, the ability to repair damage done to itself, and a precise tracking and targeting system.
Wow, in other words, every sci-fi villain's like final boss ship.
I'm afraid this battle station is completely operational. See addendum-2B for more information on it.
Is this where the SCP sends in some dudes in fighter jets to like shoot its exhaust vent or whatever?
Stay on target! Stay on target!
Fucking Luke.
Due to the large difference in technological advancement between the creator of the SCP and our own, for all intents and purposes, the SCP is currently indestructible by human means. In theory, the SCP might be left vulnerable by a powerful enough electromagnetic pulse. Unfortunately, this technology does not yet exist.
I would simply crash the sun into it.
I'll just go down in the exhaust vent. Gale and Ursa left a weak point in the station. Since 1971, the SCP has been the recipient of an unending stream of electromagnetic-based communications originating in the Triangulum Galaxy, roughly 3 million light-years from Earth.
Oh, maybe it's just an alien thing.
Maybe we'll find out. Well, maybe
there's
we'll
so many
find out.
logs.
The means of the SCP's travel to our solar system and the means of its communications are all unknown. From 1971 to 1985, the SCP continuously received a single encoded message which, through codebreak and translation efforts, appeared to be a command to repair the damage it incurred upon entering our solar system. After this time, the barrier array was established to intercept these messages. This coincided with a period of radio silence from the origin of the communications until 1996, when a different order began transmitting. The barrier array has thus far prevented the SCP from receiving this command. See the addendum communication log.
How much do you want to bet this command is like destroy Earth or some dumb shit?
You may fire when ready.
Oh, there's so many logs. Oh.
Why don't you take the first addendum and I'll do the rest? I'll do the next one after that. We'll popcorn these.
My poor sick body.
I don't
All
care.
right. SCP-2399 Discovery Notes. SCP-2399 was originally observed, albeit unknowingly, by Giovanni Cassini in 1665. The following is taken directly from Cassini's journal on the event, translated from Italian to English. 8/10/1665. I have observed something extraordinary. Oh, this is European time dating. Weird. I have observed something extraordinary in the heavens. Last night, as I gazed through my looking-glass, I saw what appeared to be a star of great luminescence. Luminescence?
So,
oh no!
He was simply running through the solar system so quickly.
Just more to the legend of Musashi being the strongest character in all series. A great luminescence streaked through the far reaches of our solar system. I have never recorded an object moving so fast. It had surpassed the outer planets in fewer than 2 hours. As I watched by my own 2 eyes, I saw it slow as it closed on Jupiter, make a sharp turn, and disappeared into the planet itself. I saw many bursts of light afterwards, but although I continued to peer at it until the sun broke, I saw no additional disturbances in the night sky. So, I realized in time that by sun broke he means the sun coming up, but for a second I thought he meant the sun machine broke. Have a nice day! No more light. I must continue to document these changes, and will alert my colleagues when a day is upon me. The 15th of October, 1665. I took Peter to my observation point last night, but a week from the night I saw the fire rain upon Jupiter in the heavens. He brought along his own looking-glass, and together we aimed our view upon the giant. To our surprise, a magnificent change has occurred. Where once the distant world only showed bands of color, there is now a great red spot where the star came to rest on the surface of Jupiter. Peter was incredulous, of course, that such an amazing discovery could have taken place before our very eyes. I will continue to take note of this. The 18th of October, 1665. Tonight, as I peered through my looking-glass, I swear on my life that I observed what looked to me like explosions and starbursts emanating from our red spot. I fear my mind is playing tricks on me, for there has been no record of such violent outbursts by a heavenly body since the dawn of astronomy. I will consult with Peter on the morrow, and hopefully glean from him some advice on the matter. The 19th of October, 1665. Peter sees the same as I! As I approached him with my concerns, he leveled the same with me, and through our following discussion we concluded that it must be a powerful reaction to the falling star I saw upon the first night, and not a product of our own shortcomings. I am left wondering what cataclysmic event must be taking place upon our heavenly neighbor. Our work to document this must go on.
Well done.
Oh, wow, you took the fucking short one. That's next.
Well, I'll do the next two.
All right.
Addendum 2B. At blank hours on blank blank blank, Barrier Unit 53 observed one of the SCP's repair drones closing on a piece of debris, quickly determined to be part of a damaged communications array.
Wait. Let's go back and forth again, actually.
Because of the nature of the specific component and the ramifications of allowing the SCP to recover it, it was ordered that Barrier Unit 45 fire upon the drone with its onboard concussion batteries. Batteries were discharged, however the drone appeared undamaged. Footage obtained by Barrier Unit 53 shows that while the payload in question was launched towards the repair drone, it was destroyed within 5 kilometers of the target by additional charges originating from SCP-2399.
Was the repair drone its own thing, part of the SCP?
It's part of the SCP, yeah, but it's sent out.
Gotcha.
Command lost contact with Barrier Unit 35 15 seconds after initial discharge, with video observations showing SCP-2399 data expunged, the rate of nothing spatial anomaly originating in blank 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 data expunged, the termination of Barrier Unit 45 by Barrier Units 44, 51, and 55. They had to fucking kill it themselves afterwards, whatever that did.
Wait, so they tried to kill it and then they killed it?
No, so they tried to destroy the repair drone with their Barrier Unit 45. The SCP did something, there was a spatial anomaly, something happened, and then they had to destroy their own barrier unit instead.
Oh, the barrier units were the SCP Foundation's things.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's a quick note.
Under no circumstances are any barrier units to further engage either the SCP or drones released by the SCP.
Ooh.
Project Gygus.
Oh, no, I got this one. You take the next one after this, don't worry.
No,
I insist.
Fine.
Addendum 2399-2C, Project Gygus. Or is it Gigas? Gygas. After the event of blank blank blank, it was decided that necessary force would be authorized to destroy or incapacitate SCP-2399, using Foundation resources as well as resources from 45 nations, notably a bunch of blanked-out censored nations. A platform of blank warheads bearing blank mount payloads and blank warheads bearing EMP detonators was launched and placed in orbit around Europa. On blank 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 at blank hours with orders from 15 heads of state and 05 blank 05 blank 05. Is that really necessary? Aren't there only 5 of them?
No,
yeah, exactly.
13 of them.
Oh.
Where were the other guys? They were talking about Cassie, I assume.
Yeah! They're like, sorry, you guys go deal with that. We got to debate on whether Cassie gets a new pair of jeans or
not. They launched a whole bunch of shit at it, and then data expunged.
The entire payload did expunged. Efforts to develop alternative methods of eliminating SCP-2399 are currently underway. Footnote, the repair of SCP-1396 has been proposed, but deemed ultimately unfeasible. Is that like an SCP they launched at it?
I'm not sure what that is. Yeah, that'll be like
all right, how would you like to read L5?
You little shit. Clearance accepted. So, SCP-2399. Have you ever sat and wondered, maybe after you hear about a car accident on the street you were just on, or a bombing in a city you were visiting, just how lucky you are to be alive? This is like the opening of his cookbook. Just how many things have to go right for you to continue to exist?
Wait, is this... They sent this to the SCP?
This is a letter from someone working on it. They didn't send this.
Okay.
He's not saying, so SCP-2399, how you doing?
Yeah, I didn't know if that was like they just gave up on fighting it and we're trying to communicate.
A few seconds too late, a few seconds too early, and somebody reaches something they dropped, and a busload of people run into another busload of people. Sometimes this kind of thing does happen, as we've seen far too often. But that's what we're here for, to protect those who can't protect themselves from things that they wouldn't even know to protect themselves from. Remember in the first episode where I read to you like what the SCP Foundation did? You're like, well, that's so noble.
Yeah.
We can't do it all, though. As many things we've been able to contain, as many things we've been able to keep under lock that would threaten to destroy us all, still far too many remain that we can't do anything about.
Yeah, here's what is weird to me about SCP.
Yeah.
And I want to say this. There are so many SCPs that, like, if this get out, this would decimate human civilization, or could even end the world. That, like, I mean, I know the Foundation has, in theory, existed since the beginning of time, or depending on whatever fucking canon you subscribe to. But, like, how on earth has the Earth survived before the Foundation was formed? Like, there's just too much shit.
There's always some sort of precursor in law.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's always some fucking ancient civilization making blood sacrifices to 682.
Whether they're too big or too fast or too powerful, any of these things could blink and wipe humanity from existence.
Yeah, this guy's got the right idea. This guy is literally my reaction to the whole thing.
The fact that they haven't done so yet is just luck. SCP-2399, however, is different. We have little information regarding its motives, origins, and full capabilities. We do not understand how it's capable of communicating over such large distances, or why those who constructed it, if it was in fact constructed, sent it to us in the first place. We do not know what would happen if the SCP is able to fully repair itself, or if part of our array would break down and a message would get through. We do not know this, so we must assume the worst. Judging by what we've seen, were the SCP to have reached Earth, it would have led to our timely destruction. Sometimes humanity gets a little help. Sometimes something steps in the way of the apocalypse. For us, and for the SCP, it was Jupiter. As the SCP began to slow on its approach to Earth, Cassini saw what we'd been able to ascertain, that SCP-2399 struck Io, was damaged, and was unable to escape the gravitational pull of Jupiter. Its weapons activated as they were intended, but it was Jupiter that experienced Doomsday.
Yeah, I was going to say, because a lot of people forget, when you think about the planets, Jupiter is massively bigger than Earth. I'm pretty sure Earth can fit inside the whole red storm.
It can get void.
Yeah, so it would have literally destroyed the entire Earth, whereas Jupiter is just a spot.
All the native Jupitans looking up like, God? And then they get blown to shit.
No, the Bikini Atoll of the solar system.
God?
Do you know the story of Bikini Atoll, Tan? It's really sad.
I do. I know.
Do you or do you not?
I don't. I know the name, but I don't know the story, but we'll discuss it another time, maybe.
No, it's relevant.
Okay.
So, to what they just described. So, the United States was like, they wanted to test their, like, atomic bombs, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, look, there's these islands that we can test on. And then they dropped the bombs and then realized after the fact that people lived there. And they, like, destroyed their entire, like, home and everything they had. And then they were like, oh, sorry, we'll pay you guys back later, maybe, probably. And then never did. And now on their flag is, like, similar to the American flag. And it's got a phrase that is basically throwing shade at us for being awful. Just casually dropping a bomb. It just reminded me of that when you mentioned the Jupitans. Just like, whoops, sorry.
Eventually, though, it's likely that the SCP will resume full functionality and will likely be able to pull away from Jupiter and proceed to its targets. As of now, we can keep hurling bombs and EMPs at all we want, but we've got no indication that any of it will so much as scratch the thing. On the contrary, experienced dictator would do nothing at all. If this were to happen now, it would undoubtedly be destroyed. Jupiter has given us time. For now, the SCP will remain there, reassembling itself, while we devise some way to stop it. Like it or not, we are in an arms race with this thing. Our best guess is give us something like 25 years until it's able to hear past our dampening array. Until then, we must seize the opportunity that has been laid before us. We must use the time we've been given and not let it be wasted. So we devised Protocol Legionnaire. We don't need to read that out right now. One gigantic EMP, powered by God knows what, followed by a volley of nukes big enough to wipe out our civilization 1,000 times over. A blunt plan, and simple, and likely futile. Our researchers and researchers around the globe have yet to devise even a way to deliver that kind of pulse, let alone a way to power it. There's no indication whatsoever they'll be able to complete Legionnaire on time, or if it'll do what it's intended once it's completed. But we must try. We must do something. Even if to drain our banks and empty our minds, we must try. Not often do we get a chance to see the swerving bus that will end our lives and step out the way. Jupiter, unknowingly, has offered us that chance. I suggest we take it. Randall McAllen, Director, Barrier Project, Site Blank.
So, one, I love Cactus's ability to write like this. Like, to explain something in a poetic way without relying on, like, scientific fact and sheer numbers, and still make it, like, the whole allegory of the bus, and still make it, you know, like, able to be envisioned, and get across the same meaning without needing to be like, it'll destroy 8 billion acres, and then in parentheses again. You know what I mean? I'm not wording this right.
So, they say it's SCP-249, but it's pretty strong, right?
Yeah.
Able kits fucking us, though.
My second comment, is this an allegory for global warming?
I see you've ignored my comments.
What comment?
I was saying that it's pretty strong, right?
Yeah.
But Abel could kick his fucking ass because he's so
Probably.
strong.
Or fucking...
He would simply parry it as it came in.
Or fucking
It
the
goes
angel.
flying back to Jupiter.
I have a question. What happens if this Doomsday device meets 682? Would he intervene?
Like in his cell, he sees it approach like, I'm gonna have to get involved.
682, how did you stop it? I'm just built different.
There's a final addendum here, a communications log. We saw the sound and heard the light, it says, when you click on it. All messages logged to be understood as having repeated themselves continuously until either a new message is logged or a logged instances of radio silence. 1971. Unit is damaged, repair. 1985. Updating orders, maintain position, repair. 1985. Period of radio silence, barrier array is established. 1996. Unit is out of range of targets, proceed to planet 3 in system, coordinates repair, redacted, repair. 2015. Unit is out of range of targets, proceed to planet 3 in system, coordinates redacted. Priority is target. Cease repairs. Oh, there's a link to an article in Target there. I guess we'll see what that's referring to.
It says it's
next
a cactus.
time.
It says Twisted Gears cactus proposal, so I assume it's an 001.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going to say something, Darnell.
Oh yeah.
To be continued.
Okay, don't end the episode. Remember, we still have to read comments and then do the thing.
Yes. What's the thing?
Okay, so, well, the first thing isn't really related to SCP. I just wanted to chat about it with you on the podcast, but if you don't want to talk about off-topic things, we can skip it. But if not, I wanted to mention it.
Okay, Mitch, I don't know what it is, so you're going to have to tell me before I don't know what I talk about it.
I don't know if you saw the DM I sent you a little bit ago about the Twitter screenshot of the VTuber that made like $1 million on YouTube.
No.
And I just felt like I wanted to comment on this. So VTubers have been popping up in the Western world.
Coming up here?
So for a while they've been a thing like in Japan and whatnot, but it's starting to come to the West, and they're making stupid amounts of money. I've seen $20,000+ donations on these streams, which makes me think maybe we need to rethink our content and become anime girls.
I see.
Think about it, Tan. The money. I talked about this on the server, to which everyone unanimously said...
I saw that you did, yeah.
Everyone unanimously said no, but think about...
Well,
all
I'll say is be ready for the live stream on Friday. Which will be yesterday from your perspective. And you'll already know that I did not come up as an anime girl.
We're just built different. Okay, but yes, let us read some comments. Let me pull up our last video.
Okay.
Tanhony. Like, we're already at 511 subscribers. Damn.
Yeah, we hit 500 subscribers a little while ago. I'm so happy.
I know.
Let's get into it. I'll read these. So, An Account says, if my math is correct, things are soon about to get ill. This is probably one of the best SCP channels yet, and nobody talks about it. Well,
hell yeah, brother!
To be fair, 511 people do talk about it. Yes. Meanwhile, the infographic show gets likes on their SCP videos. I don't want to throw shade on other video makers, but I don't know what that is. So here's a quick joke, but I think we'll skip the joke since Darnell doesn't know what this means.
Yeah, I don't. I already read it because I read all the comments obsessively. I didn't get it.
Okay, so Love You says, "Oh hell yes, it's meat time, baby!"
me when someone's making hamburgers.
Also, me someone's making hamburgers. Praise Iron. Kick it on. Also, 2605. Cutting in and collapsing recording is actually pretty straightforward. You just have to make sure you cut each audio track in the same location and shorten them by the same amount. As long as you do add the collapsing, you can make the lever blow every track. The collapsing will say,
we already clap synced in that episode.
Yeah,
though.
we did it.
What the heck?
And then under Spadaphora. It's so long. Man.
The final boss of comments.
Let's get into it. I like this comment format. I'll keep with it until Tanhony or Darnell tells me to stop.
I won't tell you to stop yet because I feel
don't stop. But don't we expect a word for word reading?
Yeah, I mean, I want you to imagine you were in our position. It's a lot.
Yes. So I've discovered that the one SCP one URL I've been using is the one that lets you log in more consistently. They're looking forward to the canon resonance contests. So there's a few art canons that you really like to see more of, like the Antarctic Exchange and the Warlord Fronts.
This one's for me. Should I read this next one?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were about to read.
Yeah, so he's excited about the Antarctic Exchange canon, which is a bit of an older one, and the War on All Fronts canon was a bit of a newer one, which both of them haven't had much done on them. So
I think SMT rotted my brain because anytime anything about Antarctica is mentioned, I'm just thinking demons in Antarctica and Big Hell Portal. All right. 3. For Darnell. About canons. Because the SCP Wiki is open for anyone to contribute, there is no single correct view of the SCP universe. This created the phrase, there is no canon, which is how writers/readers can accept when articles contradict each other. Multiple people wanted to write articles for a single version of the SCP universe. This became a canon. I know what canons are, but I will continue reading. In short, a canon is a version of the SCP universe that multiple people wrote articles for and anyone can contribute to. This is usually in the form of tales, but there are even SCPs that are specifically written for a canon. Usually, a canon is centered around a certain theme, such as an event, a time period, an alternate history, or what if, a single SCP, etc. For example, and then it lists several SCP canons. I know what a canon is. I know this came from a place of helping, so I appreciate it that you put a lot of time into that for me. But yeah, I think I just spaced out during Tan's explanation. Upon rewatching, I realized what he was saying. It's not about making a new canon. It's about reviving old canons, and the contest is just kind of a publicity event for things that have died out that they want to revive. Aces and Eights stuck out to me. I don't know anything about any of them because I'm pretty sure Tan... I think it was Tan, or maybe he said Tan told me Sumerian was like rating a canon in that, or a tale series in that canon.
I believe he made the canon.
Okay, Sumerian made that canon. Yeah,
Yes.
I just remember you've mentioned that one to me before.
That is the one I am on a team with. So I'm doing right now. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm with Ayers and Pepper's Ghost, and we're doing Aces and Eights for our team.
And I don't know anything about Aces and Eights, but the name sounds very cowboy.
It's a cowboy canon.
Yeah, and I really am excited to see Tan write cowboys because Tan is really good at writing pretty much every setting I've seen him do, and it's just a new one for me because usually what he's done is like fantasy or magic or sci-fi. So this is really like kind of exciting for me. I want to see what he comes up with, even though I know I won't be allowed to read it.
It's very strange. It's very strange what I've got to put together. It's cowboy in a loose sense. It's sort of Western at least.
Fair. All right. Do you want to read the other ones that aren't for Darnell?
So I think SCP-6101 its logs might need a rewrite so it's updated to modern standards. I don't really care about you reading logs. I prefer multiple SCPs and not a repeat of SCP-1730. 175AE462.
I think you misunderstood. You only need to put the code if you want us to read the other logs.
You
but
fool!
I get what you were saying.
You fool, Hunter! Now we have to read it.
Yeah. All right.
So you can find just the Black Moon Howl in certain articles. It doesn't really have a specific meaning. As far as I know, it just sounds cool and alludes to the nature of the SCP universe. A good category for it will be meta-meme, the soul of all that SCP represents both in the universe and from a meta standpoint. So I'm going to skip question 6 just because we might want to get to that in a later episode. I don't want to...
okay. I thought you were just skipping it because it was... Oh, this one's far Darnell.
We've got near Darnell here. This one is for far Darnell.
Yeah, I don't know how to replicate
this is
on
Darnell's
being far
like
away.
avatar. This is Darnell's avatar, which is near Darnell, up in space,
Hello,
orbiting
it's
the moon.
me.
Is a great sort of octopus creature called Far Darnell.
Hello, it's me, Far Darnell. I kind of want to play a D&D character that's like a cleric of the Broken God. Play
Well,
a
it's like Kermit.
Warforged Artificer cleric paladin of the Church of the Broken God, and his backstory could be he was once biological and enlightened himself.
That was what I was thinking. I was thinking Warforged, obviously, but I was thinking of playing a Forged Domain cleric and having something along that lines of like, I'm a Forged Domain. Forged Domain, if you don't know, Tan, is based around like blacksmithing, building things, and the idea is I literally built my Warforged body for myself. I really liked that idea.
To better spread his religious teachings. Good luck trying to get your DM to accept all the craziness that would imply.
Honestly, it's not that crazy. As long as I didn't say it was SCP related, that would probably flow just fine. It's only when you make your thing sound like an XP that it would get turned down. Alright, and then we have 2 more.
So yeah, 2 more. What are you talking about? Oh yeah,
Two-
right. Yes. 8. Is it 20 minutes for lightning to travel from Greece to Siberia? That's way too slow. Absolutely, I agree with you. I can't believe they missed that one.
Yeah, they really blew it on this one.
9. Oh, no comment reading. Little did you know.
It was honestly for the best because the last Hunter's Spataphora one had 35 questions if you didn't see it.
What?
It was 35 bullet points.
we were lazy.
It was literally... We actually forgot. That wasn't why. But that would have taken like 20 fucking minutes.
Zvaxian says, I love this podcast. You are the best, Tanhony Woo. Correct.
And then there's a reply.
We don't need to read the reply.
No. The Chaos Corvid says, that's not how you spell Darnell. Thanks, Melissa. And then Zavaxian said, that is true. Darnell is a king. Agreed.
Citation.
Then an account left a second comment.
When are you going to read 2C Evan 1A? Is one of the scariest SCPs on Wiki? I don't know when I feel like it.
I'll tell you right now, nothing's gonna scare me because I'm hardcore. I don't really know how we can possibly respond to Lost Network's question. Because this comes out after the...
How long is the live stream going to be on Friday?
Well, now we put ourselves... Here's what we should do, Tan. Let's leave this spot in the recording blank. And then after the live stream, look up the time and then edit in you saying that time.
Well, it was... Well, there you have it.
Yeah. Okay. So next from... I'm not even going to pretend I can say that.
Bruh, they really just read Omega as Alpha. Shut up!
Yeah, I realized that after I read it. But if you read fucking endless paragraphs in your voice and do commentary, you miss stuff too, okay, buddy?
Comedy Man Kelp says, damn shame there was no true follow-up to 2217. I really wanted to see a full story of the Foundation Church of the Broken God.
I know, together. Right? One thing I've noticed, and maybe it's just because the specific group involves like a guy who's a big sarkic writer, but like all the people I was talking to are all about the flesh. No one else thinks the Church of the Broken God is cool in that group, and that made me sad.
I have to be with you. I prefer the Broken God Church because I look at robots.
Thank you. It's just a cooler aesthetic, and I really like the lore of it as opposed to like, flesh tribal.
I want it to reveal like the Church of the Broken God Army. It's like the shitty droids from Star Wars, like Roger, Roger.
Roger, Roger. It's the fucking Call of Duty Xbox guys.
Roger, Roger.
All right, so I want to read this one because it's by my favorite, Boris WW. So, according to my math, you've read 106 articles so far. Pretty good guess there, Darnell. SCP. This is my best attempt to do Boris's voice. Okay. SCP-610, unfortunately, in my opinion,
apologies
is pretty
to
weak.
Boris.
This isn't supposed to be an insult. I'm trying my best, damn it, because I love you, Boris. It's an homage, exactly. And heavily reliant on the creepy picture, which was blatantly stolen artwork, and as such since removed. There seems to be some echo going on in the audio in this episode. And no comment reading. Sad face. Yes, the echo, I hope there's not this time. The tricky part is if I get too close to my mic, it sounds like ASMR to Tan, which drives him nuts.
There's a reply here.
Yeah, we didn't realize we forgot till after we released the episode. He'll be back next week.
What a whiny comment.
The next comment from Andrew Marshall is 175AE-462-D7-L39,
cool.
To which I responded, your complaint has officially been registered, smile.
Chris Carlson says, oh, no comment reading, lol. These viewers have become spoiled.
Hey, stop it. Save that comment for the reader, the commenter I want to roast at the end.
I think the GOIs really add a lot to the SCP universe, and I would love it if you guys read some GOI format articles, because it's not just SCP articles in the SCP Wiki. We'll definitely check those out at some point, yes. Mm-hmm. Apologies.
And there was, I believe the one in one of the articles...
You're fucking doing damage control in the comments.
I'm trying to be PR for the people. In one of the SCPs we read where it said, like, I think it was the Arthurian one, there was a word just MEKHANE, and it linked, I think, to a group of interest article.
Yes, I've just remembered something funny. What? You remember that line in the fucking Site 13 that Captain's edited to say Tanny?
Yeah!
I was looking at the comments yesterday, it's like, someone, like the last guy is like, Captain's edited this recently to say Tanny. Could this be a hint as to the sequel?
I'm so sorry. It was just for a stupid podcast.
I think you forgot to take it out. So Loglog says, no. Don't think we didn't notice Mr. Anthony. Who? I think you're confused.
Yeah. All right, I want to roast this last commenter, Melvin Sherman. He says, can you write a GOI thing? Which, one, is not what we do, but two, it may seem innocuous, but he commented this on like 5 different fucking videos, including Aetheral Space videos.
Hold on a second. This is one of our 511
Oh, sorry. Viewers. I mean, yes, we will write a GOI thing. Tan, get on that.
No. Yes, maybe someday, but when I feel like it.
Anyway, yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to let too much rage out on you. I don't want to feel like I'm bullying you, but it was driving me nuts, man. We get it. We see it.
We can't. We only got 511 of these things. We can't roast them.
Don't call them things. Oh, God.
They can't even fucking hear me. I've stopped recording.
Did you? Because we're not done yet.
No, but what are they going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
You'll keep listening anyway. Oh my God. Comments yes, Tanhony, in the comments, or I'll know.
Comment no, Tanhony, if you'd like to join my rebellion faction.
See what fucking happens if you do. So what next? What next? What are we doing, Darnell? You seem to have more in mind.
No, that was it. I already did the thing I told you about the VTubers. I think we're ready to sign off. As usual, go to Royal Road or watch our videos and check out Aetheral Space. It's really starting to heat up in the next few, 4 episodes that are going to come out from now. So stay fucking tuned. It's actually hype. I wanted to leave a review on Royal Road, but it doesn't let you unless you read it, and I didn't want to make it a count and speed through all the chapters again just to fucking write a review. So take my word for it.
I would appreciate if you did, but let's sign off. It's time for the closing jingle that we do every episode. Beep, 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 beep. You've been listening to Discovering SCP with Tanhony Wilson and Darnell Germain.
Bye!
Bye! My surname is not Wilson, just by the way.